liking that. You're going to lose votes. What are you going to do about it? And then she has to come up with something. And then Donald Trump's going to say, well, wait a minute. Kamala Harris just came up with something. I got to change mine to make it to adapt to this. And now you see they're moving in a direction that we need to be headed in. Right now, it's stagnant. We're not doing it. There is no arms control in America anymore. You know, under John F. Kennedy, we had an organization. He created an organization called the Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, ACTA. And ACTA took the lead in the US government to put in motion negotiations with the Soviets that led to some of the most important arms control agreements of our time, agreements that walked us away from the abyss of nuclear conflict and allowed the Cold War to end. We need that again, but who's talking about it? Nobody.
Let me ask you, think about this scenario. If Harris is elected, are you going to keep the pressure on her even after she might be elected? What are you going to do then?
The important thing is to get people to commit, to get the candidates on both sides to commit to a policy that talks about the prevention of nuclear weapons. That's the most important thing. Once the election's done, then you have to hold those candidates accountable for what they do. All right. And you know, that's a process. It's the follow-up. You know, the key aspect of anything is supervision. It's very easy to give direction, but then you have to supervise.
Right.
And so, yes, Operation Dawn will continue. We will continue to hold whoever wins the election accountable for whatever policies they put forward. Or, you know, if they failed to put forward a policy but won the election nonetheless, to continue to put pressure on them to recognize they put by educating the American people about the danger of nuclear weapons. But I'm here to say right now that if we don't get the candidates to commit to a policy, it's almost impossible to hold them to account because they'll believe that they have a mandate to govern that is independent of the need to stop a nuclear war. So the fight right now is between now and November 5th. We have to get the candidates to wake up. One candidate has. Let's get Jill Stein in on the mix. I've been trying to get Jill Stein to come on my show. She actually agreed to, and then the FBI raided my house and she got scared. I need to go to her and say, don't be a coward. I mean, what the hell are you afraid of? The FBI raided my house not because of any criminal activity, because they're trying to suppress my free speech. They're trying to suppress my ability to talk to people like you so you can inform and educate the American audience. That's what they're trying to do. You're being a coward by not coming on the show. Come on this show and talk about the issues that matter. And the only issue that matters, in my opinion, right now is stopping a nuclear war. Do you have something to say about this, Jill? I think she does. And I think if she articulates that, now you have Jill Stein, who's stealing votes away from Kamala Harris, according to many people, who's put out there an opinion about nuclear weapons. And Kamala Harris will say, oh my God, you know, it's one thing to say, well, Donald Trump's a madman, but now Jill Stein's out there saying things and voters are going to gravitate away. I've got to do something. And then she's going to have to commit to a policy that talks about prevention of nuclear weapons or war. This is how it works. This is how you put pressure. You do it up front because this is a very tight election, a very tight election. And if you capture an issue like this and you make this issue manifest, the politicians have no choice but to respond because they want to win the election. And if you get them to commit to a policy, then you get to hold their feet to the fire. Then you have the viability going forward to say, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? It doesn't mean they're going to do it, but at least you have some tools to work with. But if you remain silent and you're operating on a hope and a prayer that they will do the right thing because they will do the right thing. Joe Biden almost signed a document on Friday that caused us all to die on Saturday. Where's the pressure on him? None. The Russians had to put the pressure on him. The Russians had to make them back down. And I'll tell you what, while I'm in favor of good relations between the United States and Russia, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit back and let Russia dictate my future. I don't want the Russians dictating anything to us. We have to solve this problem. The American people have to solve this problem. We can't be reliant upon the good intention of the Russians because right now they have good intention, but what happens when they don't? They are not there to help us. The Russians don't exist to do well by the American people. We have to help ourselves. I believe the best way forward is to have good relations with Russia. The best way to have good relations with Russia is to learn more about Russia, about the lack of threat that they posed. But we never, ever, as a people, should surrender our fate to the Russians. We should never find ourselves in a situation where it's incumbent upon the Russians to convince Joe Biden of the dangers of his actions. That's our job. That's the American people's job, and we are asleep at the wheel. Joe Biden almost signed a document on Friday, September 13th, that caused us all to die on Saturday, September 14th. Mm-hmm. Whatever the hell you were doing on Saturday, you weren't going to get to finish it had he signed that document. Get pissed off, America. Get mad. And then ask yourself what you're going to do about it. If you got a better idea than mine, run with it. But right now, I have a plan. It's a plan that's getting the attention of some people. Help me sustain this plan and maybe save your life in the process.
Okay, so everybody in New